All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the pre-show. It's a great time to be here. We are in for yet another great week. I'm excited. We got good changes coming in. We got some much-needed changes coming in, and I'm sure that New World is looking to make some more changes at that. So I'm happy to have you guys here. Happy to start off strong with some powerful numbers, and of course, just happy to be here. It's gonna be a good week.
Hey everybody.
Yes, McLeod's here too.
Hello.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. This is obviously a holiday week, so we're expecting lower than normal numbers. For the game, obviously people are gonna be taking some time to do stuff, and yeah, you have a lisp like me. I do have a little bit of a lisp. Like, I've tried and tried, but I can't get rid of it.
It's not really that noticeable, dude, in all honesty.
Yeah, but it's noticeable to me.
I mean, you know this, I know this. Everybody who has made content, or creates content, knows this and has felt this. Unless they're, unless they're a certain particular type of person, but you're always your worst critic.
Yes.
So,
Very
don't worry
much
too
so.
much about it.
As somebody who has, done my done editing for the show and stuff like that, I despise the sound of my own voice. So, I'm happy that I don't have to listen to myself during a live show, because that would drive me crazy. I'm sure there's some people in the audience that are like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't if I didn't have to be. So some cool things for this week. We managed to ace the right day for both Prime drops, or Prime loot, my bad, which you can get the Autumn King pack. And you can also, by just chilling out in the channel, get the drop, which is the Royal Fisher set. So it's gonna be multiple freebies. One of them you do have to have Amazon Prime for, but the other one you get just by hanging out. So excited on that one. Let's see. A whole bunch of really cool stuff going on. Like, for those that don't know, we kind of use the opening here in the pre-show as a little bit of a chance to just kind of chill, talk with people, a little bit of back and forth, while everybody kind of loads in, and then at about 7 o'clock we actually roll into the actual planned content, and we did also want to make it so that people had a good opportunity to get in, have the time, have the right amount of time so that you can actually get the drops. So that's another reason for the pre-show today. But yeah. So I mentioned this last week, but the League of Legends Arcane series on Netflix is absolutely phenomenal. It's getting ratings, just crazy good ratings across the board. It's breaking into trending consistently for the US markets and most other markets where it's in. So that's huge news for them. They've announced a season 2, which is even better. Excited to see where that goes. And then, of course, Netflix is weird this time of year. They're dropping a lot of really good stuff right now. Lost in Space Season 2, Witcher Season 2, and my guilty pleasure show, because everybody's got one, Emily in Paris Season 2. I'm sure somebody's gonna clip that and be like, "Guy watches what?" It's a great comedy. Dexter season 9 as well. So I haven't seen that one yet. Is it as good as the original series, or like, because I know there's a gap between seasons. That'd be interesting to see. I've also got Wheel of Time and Farscape Babylon 5 are both on their way. Or Wheel of Time has actually got it's the first 3 episodes out, so that's going to be a good one.
Well, I mean, Wheel of Time is out, yeah. It's obviously new, and they're doing their thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Farscape and Babylon 5 have been out for quite a while. You can definitely check those out on Amazon.
Yeah. And of course, the last season of The Expanse.
Yeah, that's coming. That's out in December. So that obviously they have the other series. The fourth, the I think 5 series before that. So like those you definitely want to catch up before. If you haven't watched The Expanse, it's genuinely probably one of the best sci-fi series out there. Like I know a lot of people kind of consider say Battlestar Galactica, like the revamped Battlestar Galactica, to be like one of the best sci-fi series out there. Like I couldn't choose between The Expanse and BSG. Like they're both absolutely insane and amazing.
Oh yeah. There's also Apple TV has the Foundation series, Isaac Asimov, which is a phenomenal book series. So I'm excited to see that one. Mac's coming through a little quiet. Let me up his volume. It's probably on. It's on my end. I downed you for other reasons. So let's see. You are actually coming through a little bit quieter than normal.
Okay, let me just check this my end.
Nope, you're fine. You're fine. I fixed it. All right. So tons of really good series coming out. So let's see here. There's a good question in chat. Do you think the recipe required legendary items should be bind on create? It makes everyone have to have 200 weaponsmithing to get those weapons, despite the purpose of having designated roles within a company, weaponsmither, jewel crafter, etc. Or alternatively, make the recipe a consumable, so salvage doesn't perma-teach you the recipe, but instead gives... I actually kind of like the idea of letting you build it once, but mix that with also being able to sell it. I don't know, because most of the legendary gear also requires some like pretty rare drops to build it. So
that are also time gated as well to some degree, like in terms of making.
Yeah. So I mean, I definitely think that if you craft it, you should be able to sell it. It shouldn't be bind on pickup. It should be bind on the person who buys it for sure, but not for crafters, because otherwise like kind of defeats the purpose. I do like the idea of the one time, but at the same time, like, then you get a whole bunch of things that have to come into play in order to get it, and it's already pretty difficult to get the legendary ones.
Yeah, I'm very much with you with regards to craftable items should be, in general, sellable and tradable, that kind of thing. I just kind of feel like if you're changing it to certain items to actually be, bind on equip.
And I understand the reason behind it, but like several of the legendaries, they're designed to be bind on pickup because when you go do content, it's supposed to be a super high-end reward for doing things. That said, there should be a set of legendaries that you can craft and sell to other people. That way there's value in reaching 200. There's value in being a high-end crafter and going through the trouble of actually putting them together.
And that's the thing, you can go through the game to the point where you're, grinding gear score without even ever having to touch, crafting, to be completely honest, or touch, say, weaponsmithing or armoring, right, for example.
If I remember right, there are some weapons that you can only craft. And the only time that they appear on the drop table is actually as a schematic. So they have to be crafted. Which is annoying because if they're bind on pickup, when you craft them, then you can't give them to anybody. And it's just, yeah. I feel your pain.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, you can get to the point where you're getting, like, between 500 and 600 gear score drops without even touching crafting for the most part, right? Especially armor, especially weaponsmithing and armoring, that kind of thing. The choice for somebody to go into armoring or weaponsmithing should be, something that allows you to be able to create something and, sell it or give it to people. Like, just creating an unnecessary long grind by forcing people to have to go through leveling up armoring or weaponsmithing just to be able to build something that isn't sellable or tradable it feels like an artificial elongation of gameplay, which people are just not going to enjoy unless they obviously craft, unless they enjoy crafting, in which case chances are they've gone into crafting without before, like without that incentive, and it's not exactly a great incentive, to be honest.
In terms of PvP drops, I think that Outpost Rush specifically needs to be added to the to things that can adjust your watermark.
Yeah,
like that would make the grind a hell of a lot more desirable or bearable.
I think all endgame content should, in some way at least, provide an opportunity for you to increase your gear score, or provide an opportunity to drop something that allows you to create the tuning orbs.
Well, then the nice thing is it's gated by time, because obviously, like, each run of Outpost Rush takes a certain amount of time to complete. So sure, each time you complete Outpost Rush, you're gaining 3 drops, with the possibility of raising a watermark. I have yet to see OPR raise my watermark. I could be wrong, but I have yet to see it happen. If somebody has had that happen, please let me know, because I'd love to ensure that I'm making the right information here. But I've yet to see it happen, and I track my stuff religiously. It does, per what they said about watermark in the OPR. I'll believe it when I see it. My skepticism for things working the way they should and the way they do are 2 different things at this point.
Yeah, very much so.
So I'm don't get me wrong, like I'm still obviously excited for the game. I'm pumped that it's out and that there's content to be played. I don't have nearly as bad of a reaction to the changes of the last patch as most of Reddit does, because holy shit, people can
yeah, just a tiny bit. Do not underestimate the internet's ability to flip out about even the smallest of things. But sometimes when they do it is very much justified.
Why buff the GA and Hammer? It beats me. They were, in a number of ways, they were underperforming in terms of damage. The problem is that even though they were underperforming in terms of damage, they were overperforming in terms of crowd control. So now they deal both damage and crowd control, which is a bad thing. Because what was keeping them balanced is the fact that although they could stun you, they, weren't hurting you that much. Now they're doing both. I think that the magic nerfs are too extreme, and I think we're going to see them retract those soon. If I was them.
I heard on the grapevine. I haven't been playing Ice Gauntlet that much actually, but I heard on the grapevine that people have not really been like. I genuinely thought that the changes made to the Ice Gauntlet were basically pretty much nuke it out of general usage. But it seems as though it's still somewhat viable, even with some of the CC nerfs to it, like the ice shower going from 20-second cooldown to 30-second cooldown. I thought would be like a big hit on people. Seems like it hasn't been too bad a hit. It's still being used quite often. So yeah, I thought it was gonna nerf out, like nerf it into obscurity, but it clearly kind of hasn't. Maybe they hit the sort of a good, a good balance point with it. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I personally think, and people can rage at this one. Here's my personal thoughts on weapon balance. Right now, weapons are the least of the problem. Armor is the problem. And as much as people will hate me for saying this, I think that wearing heavy armor, you should have a massive penalty to damage. So that you have to make the choice, I'm either going to deal damage, or I'm going to tank. And I'm talking massive hit, like there needs to be a 40% buff on light armor to damage, and there needs to be a 30 to 40% nerf to damage on the other end. So if you want to tank damage, you want to go full void bent and get in there and survive like crazy and deal your stuns, great. More power to you. But as a return, you should hit like a kitten versus the 300 dex guy should be able to ace shots and deal a lot of damage. Your 300 points into intelligence should be returned in terms of applying a lot of damage.
And I don't think that's Elder Scrolls kind of like logic. I think that's just understanding that, like, if you are allowed to do something that is extremely powerful on the battlefield, like, you need to have, like, that needs to come at a cost in some way, shape, or form, right? Mm-hmm. So, you shouldn't be able to have like maximum tank and also huge damage in the same way that you shouldn't be able to have maximum tank and like ridiculous healing. So, it should be, certain things should be one or the other.
I also think that physical damage and elemental damage need to be on different sets of armor. So if you were wearing a full heavy set to mitigate physical damage, you are going to be weak against magic damage. And if you are wearing a full heavy set against magic damage, you're going to be weak against physical damage. That needs to come into place more, so that there are counters to that play.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Like, because to be honest, it's so much, especially in larger fights, it's so easy to be able to have like a frontline group of brawlers to basically tie up sort of the people with heavy damage, and then just have their sort of mages in the back of the field, or sort of damage dealers in the back of the field, just throwing down AoE damage from afar. And it's like we experienced this before. Like, I kind of feel like the way that they have it now, especially when it comes to elemental damage and physical damage, like I like the fact that they're there as an option to go by, to create maybe a little bit of flavor. But I don't think I don't think the capacity to go, or the desire is there to go full physical damage and no elemental damage resistance
Well,
versus
maybe not like the full
elemental versus
extreme,
no
not the
damage
full
resistance.
extreme. So like if you're tanked for physical damage, you mitigate 90% physical damage. Well, okay, great, but for elemental damage, you mitigate 60%. So you're still mitigating some of it, but it's you've got to pick which side of that equation you want to be on.
Could be interesting as a way to flavor like mid-weight armor rather than heavy armor and light armor.
Where mid would
Like,
be more of a balanced protection.
It would, yeah, you could go mid to be balanced, but then it'll be a case of like where you could potentially choose a mid-weight armor set that is more like elemental resistance focused, right? And so you can kind of go into those, you can go sort of toe to toe with, like, say, fighting a sort of large group's backline while having, actually okay damage, okay mitigation against those sorts of, players sort of trying to fight back. Be more effective there, and then, if they bring their frontline guys in that are, heavily focused with regards to great axe and hammers and that kind of thing, you would be a little bit kind of screwed. But that would be the interesting kind of play that you would make. Be an interesting way of doing things. Like, be a good way of adding a bit of variety and flavor to, say, for example, something becomes a little bit sort of monotone in terms of meta. Like, if everyone just starts, choosing mid, like armor sets that are mid-roll kind of thing, then it becomes a little bit bland again.
Speaking of headshots in chat, the other thing that needs to happen is magic weapons need to be able to deal headshots.
Yeah, I think basic magic attacks like the basic light heavy fire staff and ice gauntlet and void like ranged attacks should be able to do headshots for sure.
If I'm skilled enough to hit you in the head, I should get a reward for it.
Yeah, especially with the fire, like light and heavy fire attacks, like the projectile velocity on that is actually pretty low. So getting a headshot with something like that is actually kind of skillful.
You should, in every aspect, you should be rewarded for skill. Now, there's the balance on PvP side where it's balanced for 1v1, and then there's the balanced on PvP side for balanced in the 50v50 or the 20v20 outpost rush. And my concern is, and some people are going to hate me for this, my concern is more about the balance for the 20v20 and 50v50 than the 1v1s that are going to happen out in the world. And I understand that some people prefer the 1v1s and all that, and more power to you, but the critical gameplay for ownership of territory and and all that needs to take the priority on balance. And in most cases, it should provide opportunities for that. Thoughts on the 300 strength perk versus the other 300 perks? I like grit on things. I actually run a 300 strength build right now, because you can just do whatever you want, and nothing can stop you. So like a lot of the CC type stuff, you can invulnerability your way out of it, just by this is gonna sound bad, by just spamming left click. Oh, power comparison? It's got its own use, but it's not quite. It's got its own use. I don't know if it's as powerful as some of the others. That said, I think, and this actually goes into another discussion when it comes to Constitution versus damage attribute scaling. Those need to be more diversified. Like, if you're 300 con, and the remaining in a damage dealing, there needs to be a large difference in between somebody who is 300 con versus somebody who's 300 strength and the remainder in con. Like, one of them is going to be mowing people down, the other one is going to be, surviving, but, not dealing anywhere near as much damage. Yes, more the scaling on damage needs to go up. Not a crazy amount, but it needs to go up. Yeah. Yeah, damage per point needs to be a bit higher than it is. And then health per point, I think, is where it needs to be. If damage, it might be a little, like, it might be, like, part of me wants to say it's a little high for constitution scaling. I think it's probably fine if you increase the damage. So like a 300 point strength should be able to smack well into that con build. But a con build shouldn't scale anywhere near as well, or should be about where it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think at this particular moment in time, though, that the 300 con, or the sort of like what seems to be fairly heavy con builds, or fairly tanky heavy con builds, seem to also be able to deal fair amount of damage. Like,
yes,
you kind of like take some of that away, I think you'll kind of feel it's a lot more balanced in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shouldn't be able to do both. Shouldn't be able to have 16,000 health and hit like a truck. So you get one or the other, and you might get one and half of the other. But it's.
I think if you have that, I think you would end in a situation where you kind of feel like the heavy con build versus heavy tank build would be fairly, I wouldn't say well matched, but they would feel correct against each other.
Mm-hmm. And of course the difference in between the 100 to 150 strength full con build comparatively to the dex is that you're going to hit them for the same amount of damage, but if they hit you, percentage wise your health is fucked. Like, you're gonna hit them for, let's say you crit with a headshot for 4k, great. They've still got 10k health versus they hit you for 2k on a crit and you've suddenly got 4k health left. Like, you're gonna die quick. And of course, with the nerfs with the nerf that's in there, to once you get hit, you can't run for a little bit. It makes it even harder to get away from that, and yeah, that could be a little bit rough. Dodge becomes your friend. But yeah. I feel like the bow has always felt a little clunky, though.
Yeah, bows never really sat right for me for whatever reason.
I actually I actually really miss an ability that they had in the preview, the smoke screen.
Yeah,
I miss that.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, I know that they have the poison shot, but it's not really the same.
Mm-hmm. Like, that used to be... So you used to be able to launch this smoke arrow that, for wars, you would basically use it as a smoke screen. Making enemy siege useless for a little while. where as an attacker you would shoot the peaks of all of the turrets so that the defenders would have no idea what's going on outside of their fort, and you would be able to feign one way and do a lot more distraction. Anybody who's played first-person shooters on where to put smoke grenades versus objectives, it was actually really kind of cool. The problem was it got spammed to crap in towns, and people were like, it doesn't deal any damage, it's not valuable. Clearly those people have never played first-person shooters and don't understand the value of vision. Like being able to see from the ramparts where your enemies are going on either side to which point, you can call the defense and win. And the win rate for defense is like 80% right now. So like being able to have perfect vision on what's going on is a little too easy in my opinion. I'd really like them to bring back the smoke screen, because that at least adds an element of like, we're gonna hide. Spawning at the flag is bad. I actually agree with that. I think that defense should only be able to spawn in the fort. Given I also think that it's the same case for offense. Offense should only be able to spawn in their fort. I don't like the idea of respawning on the points. I think resupplying on the points is totally fair. Like once you capture the point, you can resupply there. Totally good. But I think, if you changed it up to have them only spawn at the forts, then you'd be good to go. Theoretically, we should have some good changes to wars. The patch that was today actually should fix a lot of the war lag that we were experiencing. So that should make that substantially more playable. So we had the patch this morning. It fixed 3 things. Reduced occurrences of time skipping days ahead instantly on a world. Fixed a bug where crowded combat situations led to players appearing to be frozen, and other states could not be conveyed to a user due to excessive bandwidth consumption. And fixed a rare server crash. As well as they changed the cost of housing and reduced the taxes on housing by 90%. Without impacting the income to the territory, which is an interesting thing. So I think the max you can pay on a maximum valued house is like 300 gold right now, if they crank their tax all the way to max. Houses still cost the same, but the weekly tax on them is reduced by 90%. A lot of that is because the furniture bug is still a thing. So, they need to at least give us something on the furniture thing, and basically just allow us to salvage. Like salvage would be just the greatest thing right now. I can go find new furniture, but like I don't need it clogging up my inventory. Mainly because it's stupid heavy. Or reduce furniture weight to nothing. So at least it's it's there, but it's not a penalty because you can't get rid of it. Yeah, the 20% from light armor doesn't feel like it's applying nearly as much as it should. Yeah, today would actually be the first time that you'd see the reduction in the housing cost, or the housing tax rate. Like, we had ours set at, I think we just set ours to 1% tax rate. That's 1% of the 20k at max. So, like, it's a really small value, which is kind of nice. In other news, diving away from New World for a moment, I don't know if people have been watching Battlefield 2042, but holy wow, that game is getting terrible reviews. I currently can't play an entire round because my drivers keep failing. It currently has a 27% positive review rate on Steam. To put that into perspective, Farming Simulator 22 has an 81% positive. Like, it's a true shit show over there. EA shouldn't have released that game yet. It's so sad what they've done, and the sad thing is it's the second time they've done that to the Battlefield series. Like, Battlefield 5 is still not feature complete. Like, which is pathetic. Yeah. Rough times. Yeah, let's see. In other news, CIG, or Cloud Imperium Games, broke over the 400 million in crowdsourced funding for Star Citizen with their Interspace Expo this week. So, and I believe 2 weeks ago they announced that they were they just leased a new building in England that will house up to 1,000, over the next couple of years, up to 1,000 developers working on the game. So, that'll be another interesting one to watch. Anthem was such a good idea, but it was so poorly implemented. Like, cutscenes, like not just cutscenes, but like loading screens. Like, you couldn't fly anywhere without a loading screen hitting every 5 seconds. You know, it was like, who thought that was a good thing? And like, it was so close, but so far from being good that it was like a parody of itself really quickly. I think I played like 15 minutes of it and was like, I can't. I like 15 minutes, and most of that was on loading screens while traversing this open world area, and it was like, you know, you look at New World and it's like no loading screens other than when you're like joining an instance thing, which is fine. But that's different than, like, imagine if every, 200 feet you had a loading screen in New World. Like, no one would play it. Yeah, or Mass Effect Andromeda, yeah. I think this year has like really been a year of developers taking it on the chin for just very poor practices in QA. Like Cyberpunk being a chief example of that. New World having its own issue. And beyond that, Battlefield being yet another prime example where there are people like me who, like, I love first-person shooters. Like, for those that don't know, I used to play semi-competitively, like sponsored, and I can't get through a match without my drivers failing. And it's like, how do you release a AAA game and not have, and like, it's not like I've got a slouch of a card either. Like, I've got a Radeon 7 in here. Like, it's actually a pretty powerful card. But yeah, so sad. So sad. Yeah, it's a rough time. And in other news, this is in the wake of mass scandals and issues of harassment, including workplace sexual assault. The CEO of Activision Blizzard is potentially going to resign if issues are not fixed promptly. which I would imagine would include, we'll probably see some higher level people exit the company relatively quick, or if he resigns, then they'll bring in somebody else who will remove those people. Because yeah, that's a whole issue for them. So like it's kind of painful to watch, because like I grew up playing Blizzard games and Activision games, and it's really painful to watch them just explode from the inside of just some of the worst stuff you've ever seen. Yeah. But yeah. Trying to think what else do we got here? We got some notes on additional stuff for pre-stream, but yeah. Horizon Forbidden West? I don't think I've seen that one. Oh, I have seen that one. I think it's an interesting concept. You know, I'll be interested to see, like, a lot of the games that I've been watching are a little bit further out. So like I'm watching Ashes of Creation. I have hopes for that game. I'm not a huge fan of Tab Target, but you know, I'll survive. I think it's going to be a decent. I think it's going to be a decent game. But it's probably got another 2 years of development at least. I've been playing a decent amount of Star Citizen, and I think that's gonna, as much as people will be like, "Oh, it's Scam Citizen," it's actually like got a pretty solid amount of the game built right now, and it's getting better. It's getting better with every patch. It's getting closer. So I've got hopes for that one. That one's more of a longer term play than anything else.
Talking of longer term plays.
Yeah.
Scam Citizen.
Yeah. You know, it's been a so here's the thing about Star Citizen though. Like Star Citizen is much more like the reason it feels so long is that developers generally start working on a game for several years before it's announced. You know, and versus the way that Star Citizen's gone about it, in order to get the funding to even start working on it, they had to go the public route, so people knew about it before it was even in works. Was this channel purely made once New World came out? Actually, we've been on the air for almost 2 years. We do a lot of New World content. We're going to be moving and talking about other games as well. But New World is our primary content. We stream every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and 7 o'clock Eastern Time is when the actual like show itself starts. Where we have like a whole planned content time frame. And yeah, but like during the pre-show here, it's just kind of chill, less chatting with people. Did they fix the elite areas for gear farming? Not yet. Not yet. Soon. I think that's one of the priorities that they listed as things that they're trying to rapidly fix here. I think the patch that came this week was intended to fix wars, because that was a really, really bad problem that they were having, and of course the time shifting that their servers were doing for some weird reason was also a priority, because that was basically causing downtimes to revert to prior states. So I think they're aiming to not have that happen. I also think one of the things that went kind of under the radar is they're trying to fix are trying to finish server merges as a mechanic, which I'm really hoping for that. So I changed to Twitch. No, Twitch handle is the same, has been the same for the last 2 years. Can't change the Twitch handle that I know of. Can you? Is that a thing? Did they happen to fix selling furniture? Not quite yet. I'm assuming we'll see a patch, probably an off-cycled patch. It'll be interesting to see when we see a patch. It might be Tuesday. I hope it's not Tuesday. That said, like, I would expect the next like through Sunday to be pretty light on people. Saturday, Sunday might be an increase, but obviously with Thanksgiving being a thing this weekend or this week, a lot of people are going to be traveling. A lot of people are going to be out of town or hosting family like myself. So I know I won't be playing nearly as much as I normally do. But yeah, my hope is that server merges come in so that the worlds start feeling a little bit more full. Because they're currently in kind of an awkward state. Some servers having very, very few people. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be very interesting to see. So, muskets and OPR are broken. It can be depending on your build and depending on your gun. There are definitely some builds out there that are nuking people.
So the whole sort of gear score, like what level of gear score that could drop is very much dependent on the level of the enemy that you're fighting. Like if it's the highest level that you could possibly find in Eternum, then it is possible, I think. But
I've only ever seen my gear score up by like 20 points at a time. At the very highest. Sometimes it'll only go up 1 point. Are you guys devs? No.
And Gekron, no, we're not. We are just your average. Well, I wouldn't say we're the average players because we were playing the alpha kind of thing. But we've been around for the development of New World fairly extensively, but we're not developers at all. Yeah. We are content creators and players.
Mm-hmm.
And Ace is, a Reddit mod.
Yes.
So he gets it in the neck all the time from, the lowest of the low from the internet.
Yep. Of which I'm pretty sure we're going to be bringing on board a bunch of new moderators for the subreddit. It's not where the current mod staff want it to be. A lot of the current mods have been traveling. Some people have been taking either vacations or just starting new jobs and that. And simply put, the three that are really active, we're not keeping up. If we didn't have the auto mod running friggin' tackle for us, we would be hosed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We would have gotten quarantined as a sub. Like it would have been real bad.
Oh man, yeah. It's if you're particularly a bit of an edgelord when it comes to Reddit posting, then it's probably not a fun time on the subreddit right now because the auto mode will be making sure that most sort of edgelordy stuff is probably going to be auto flagged, and that's on a queue for that queue's quite
Yeah.
big, I believe.
I have no apologies for the subreddit using an auto mod.
No, not for the
and
size it is.
it can and will automatically ban you. Like there are certain words and certain phrases that if used on the subreddit will literally it'll dish out a ban on you. Don't test that.
Because it is effective and it will function.
It's a surprise. It flags a surprising amount of stuff and removes it for manual review. How can I automate bans like that? Oh, dude, trust me. There are so many things that if it even comes up in conversation, boom, 5 days, go take a break. Don't even care. It's subreddit. You know, one, you're not paying to be there. You're not, etc. I have no issue dishing out a multi-day ban for even a joke that doesn't land well. Like,
yeah, I don't think it permabans people, does it? Like, but
yeah, it doesn't do any permabans, but it'll flag the ban and tell us that it's there, and
Yeah, I think when people hear bans, they always think permanent bans. Mm-hmm. You have to understand that like you can get banned on Reddit and various other places just for a certain period of time and you're back. I think a lot of people hear that banned word and they think like, oh, permanent.
Yeah. There's a difference between automatically banning people in the game, which is entirely a different story, and the subreddit. Simply put, it's a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's an obvious violation of the rules, and frankly, there's some real easy ways to hit that. We don't do it for everything, but like, of course, there is a line that like there are certain words that if they come up, boom, you're getting at least 5 days.
Yeah, and that there are, if you wish to discuss certain things in a very in a very academic kind of way, there are other subreddits out there that will allow you to do that thing, but it's not something that you would pretend that you should, or that the subreddit will allow you to do in r/NWO game.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for you to be doing it.
I think my favorite is when you ban somebody for toxic and abusive behavior, and they come back in the mod message that's like just justifies the ban full out for toxic and abusive, where like the response is toxic and abusive, and it's like, ooh, bold strategy on that appeal.
I'm gonna double down on this. I'm sure I'll come out victorious. That's not gonna happen, mate. That's not how that works.
In terms of potentially losing stuff in a trade, it could happen. It's very, very rare. Odds are you just got scammed by that guy.
Yeah.
Never put anything in a trade window and hit confirm until you're very sure that you want what's on the other side as a fair trade for it.
Yeah.
Collateral is a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I do have to give Amazon Games a bit of credit with, actually, I'm not sure. So some degree of credit with the trade window, because like I've seen other trade windows that are, just basically a scammer's paradise. But obviously, I would like to temper that particular comment with the fact that, the trade window has been used to duplicate items, like pretty consistently through fixes as well. So like, yeah, to some degree that trade window is also, at least the initial implementation of the trade window and a couple of the fixes to it were somewhat hot garbage, but
yeah, at least it's not dropping bags anymore to trade.
Yeah.
As somebody runs by and yeets your whole set of gear.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, that was bad back then.
Yeah, that was a rough situation. I too hope they fix the furniture stuff soon. It's yeah. Bryce.
There was also a interesting. I didn't actually follow this up, but I thought it was. I heard about it, but I wasn't entirely certain whether it was actually a dupe or not. But there was I heard that there was a dupe with regards to the market trading, buying and purchasing and stuff like that.
Yeah. If there's a dupe, make sure people are reporting it.
Yeah, where basically things would get traded. If you put something up on the market, and it, essentially someone purchased it, it would still appear as though it's in your inventory in that certain area. But apparently that was a visual bug. I believe that was a visual bug, as far as I know. It wasn't actually duplication of items.
Make sure they're reporting it if there's another dupe.
I can't even put some furniture on. Could you imagine that, like going down to your local bank being like, yeah, I'd like to put this wing chair in my bag, please, thank you very much. Like, wait, what? No, this is for money.
Yeah, it's
but I do feel for people with that have picked up furniture that ideally initially they would like to keep, but they can't because, my god, you just can't put stuff into storage. You can't put furniture into storage. It does kind of suck, and carrying around that all the time, especially, it will start to mount up.
Yeah. So we got about 3 minutes left on the pre-show.
And we get into the thick of it.
Want to report one guy, but he told me he'd beat me up. Report him anyways. It's not like he's gonna know.
Yeah. Someone flexing their muscles on the internet against you is pretty pathetic, to be honest.
I report people all the time. Mostly like gold spamming bots, but there's a number of people who haven't been reporting glitches on our server, and I nuke them with my report at least. I'm not like trying to coordinate any mass people to report anybody, because but the puppy decided to walk in.
Apollo wanted some action, some stream action.
Yep. He's just chilling. Can't wait for the show to start. Here's stance on the current state of the game. Man.
Mixed is the...
Looking forward to the next patch. That's all I gotta say. Yeah. So, two things before we get going. Drops are based on sitting in the channel for a certain amount of time. Eventually you get a little pop-up in the top corner. That set is the Royal Fisher set. There's also the Prime Loot, which if you have Amazon Prime, you can actually get the Autumn King set. And then on December 7th is the second set of that as well. Yeah. It's still got plenty of people. The other kicker, so here's the thing, like, even though there are less players, and we'll get into this in the show, even though there are less players than when it started, there's still almost 200,000 people on a day-to-day basis at peak. So, like, there's still a sizable amount of people playing the game. That's more than Destiny 2, like, which is a pretty popular game.
There's that kind of player sort of sentiment, depending on where you are. Like, I've heard that there are still servers that have queue times, so it depends very much on the server that you're in. A lot of servers, because of the increased capacity that AGS had to kind of expand the game to allow everybody to play who wanted to play without massive queue times. Now that population has kind of shrunk, there's a lot of people on a lot of people on a wide variety of servers that those servers aren't exactly that high in terms of population, so it does feel like it's probably a little bit more dead than it actually is. And hopefully server merges are going to help that out, so long as it isn't a massive clusterfuck.
All right, we're at 7:01, so we got to get this going.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to switch our starting screen. We're going to run through our intro video, and then we'll get right into this. So, looking forward to it, guys.